people are doing well by themselves, sufficient for them to be able to make their homes look good. And it was good to see that. And so the homes look good, the communities look good, the town looks good, and the place is looking good. Can look a lot better, of course. And especially after what Melissa did. It would have looked even better before Melissa. But the chance is there to rebuild and come back better. And as I looked at the parts of Westmoreland I saw on Thursday, and the parts of St. James I saw, and coming through Trelawney and St. and the whole North Coast run to Moby, you know how that is, many of you. I said to myself, well, for so many places that appeared backward in my youth, underdeveloped when I was a boy, which have now developed and are developing fast and looking good. What the devil is wrong with Spanish Town? That's the question I asked on Wednesday. And it's the question I asked on Thursday. Spanish Town, the town center, is now that backward place that open air dungeon. And let me explain what I mean. A dungeon is usually somewhere where there's no light, dark, dank, D-A-R-K, D-A-N-K, hiding horrors. But if you could make a dungeon come up to light, and you could look in and see the horrible conditions, garbage, human waste, this, that, and just look unsightly and smell bad. And you say, this is a dungeon, come up to the light. That's what Spanish Town is. And I remember as a high school student, little boy, may have been about grade 7 or 8. It would have been in the summer between grade 7 and grade 8 that it happened. One incident in Spanish Town that many people will tell you they twin with the start of the decline of the old capital, the town center. And that incident was the murder of a man they called Candon. And I was looking through the Supreme Court documents relating to the men charged and convicted with the murder of Errol Candon. And as I read the account of what happened, I said to myself, boy, there was a time in this country when the murderers and the gangsters ruled, when everybody and their mama know that Klansman had Spanish Town like this, that one order had Spanish Town like this. And we had a government in place, we had a security apparatus in place. Everything we have now in terms of institutions were in place. There was no Indicom, of course. But apart from Indicom, which of course represents the check and balance on the actions of. So those responsible for the actions were there. Those things were there. And the gangsters held Spanish Town in the grip. So the impact of what Clans and One Order did to Spanish Town in the 90s is being felt today sufficient for the town being incapable of releasing itself from the grasp, of coming up for air, of gasping for clean breath, for a full breath, for filling the lungs of the town. The police have done a tremendous job to get rid of the hoodlums, of the gangsters. But the gangsters' grip was so long, so sustained, and so deathly that Spanish Town's heart barely beating. June 1993, the record reads, June 11, 1993, at about 9:20 a.m., Mr. Errol Khan, the proprietor of Camden Enterprises Limited, Spanish Town in St. Catherine, was shot to death in an ambush set up on Old Market Street as he was en route by car to the bank to lodge proceeds of sales. Let me stop there. When this happened on June 11, 1993 at 9:20 a.m., let me tell you this. Anybody who knows Spanish Town or the environs, anywhere near, so if you have Spanish Town as the pinpoint and you plot some points around it in a 360-degree distribution. So you go up Linstead, you go Old Harbour, you go south to Portmore, Hillshire, you come east to Ferry and well, not even Ferry so far, Central Village, Sufferers Heights, now Windsor Heights now, White Marl, you come further up Cayman as Ferry now, right? Riverton, New Haven right there, so that whole distribution. Women bawled and held their belly bottom. Picnic ball, big man ball. There are adults in my community who I saw ball for the first and only time when the mayor said Camden dead. It was one of the most seismic, consequential murders in my youth. And if I check it back, if I run back the stats, it is one of the most consequential murders in my lifetime. I never met him, I never knew him. I never shopped at Camden Enterprise. I was a little boy. But to hear the people talk about this man, it was like Jesus in nowadays human being form. I've never heard of a kinder human being than the man they called Camden, Errol Khan. Never. And so people who just shopped there, who heard of the kindness of the man, who were touched by the kindness of the man, even people who he never gave anything, but because of how people spoke about him, them bawl when they hear how Camden car, how it was told to us. Mr. Camden in him car come, I got the bank. And one little boy push a hand card across the road, causing him to stop. And then gunman run out. Boy, boy, boy. And the rest is history. Let me take the break and come back and tie it all together for you. The development is accelerating. So many places look so much different compared to 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 15 years ago, certainly 20 years ago. So many places look so much different, so better. Vibes Cartel, when he came out of prison, said, I saw what you look, dog. And he spent 13 years in the slum. He was amazed at how built up the place was out of his own mouth. And yet, the old capital, Spanish Town, remains a putrefied mess. An open air, well, it's a dungeon with the lights turned on in it. Bright so you can see everything, all of the flaws, all of the crowdiness, if we were to use the vernacular to accurately describe the state of the town. And I'm making the argument that many people will tell you that Spanish Town's decline is tied into the killing of arguably the kindest human being to walk foot in that space. Errol Khan, the man who ran Camden Enterprises. The court was told, as I said, June 11, 1993 at about 9:20 a.m., Errol Khan, the proprietor of Camden Enterprises Limited, Spanish Town in St. Catherine, was shot to death in an ambush set up on Old Market Street as he was en route by car to the bank to lodge proceeds of sales. At the time, the car was being driven by Dorothy Shim, who testified as to the circumstances of this quite callous and brutal murder. She was not able, however, to identify the assailants, an aspect of the evidence supplied by a young man, David Morris, aged 14 years at the time of these events. According to Mrs. Shim, as she drove along the roadway, she was compelled to slow and eventually halt when she noticed a little boy trying to get a cart out of the path of the car. It was when the car was stopped that Mr. Khan was shot by a man armed with what was described as a pump rifle. The glass on the passenger side where Mr. Khan sat was shattered by the blast, and pellets eventually removed lodged in his chest. He received multiple wounds to the upper and mid-chest region of his body. Another man jumped onto the car as Mrs. Shim accelerated away from the scene and headed towards the hospital. This man fired several shots into the car and eventually fell off. She finally reached the hospital. So you hear that? Yeah. This is how contract killers paid to kill the epitome of kindness and humanity, the man who made Spanish Town his place of work and his home. So the reason I used that example is to show part of the problem that Spanish Town has had over time. At the bus terminus on Burke Road, right at the top there between the gas station at the intersection with Young Street, and you go down a little bit more, and where the tasty, the first tasty in those parts, that foundation tasty right there, the taxi stand right there. I stood there for years, taking transport home. Right at a little stall where a woman used to sell me my horse race, my race book. And because I'm underage and I'm supposed to sell a race book to a child, when I buy the Gleaner and the Observer every Friday morning, well, I buy the papers every Friday morning, but the race book come out on Friday. I don't bother with the race book in the midweek because I can't get to focus on midweek racing because of school. But Friday now, I'm going to study Friday night and Saturday into the races. So she used to put the race book in the newspaper and just give me everything one time so nobody wouldn't say she has sell one little boy a race book. Different story. But I'm saying right at that little spot. And I used to see the extortion being collected from the taxi men every day. And wonder, say, well, and so police don't know, say, Monday so collect extortion. They don't know that the bus terminus is in the grip of an organized group who collecting more cash than the government. Sometimes I come on with a receipt book, say I collect money for the parish council. Poor him. I collect crumbs compared to what the gangsters are collecting. And that was Spanish Town for many, many years. A man in the chat says, well, it's the same thing now. I don't think it's the same way now. Clearly, definitely not the same thing now. But it's like the whole country has turned its back as local government has failed in Spanish Town. And where local government needed the support of central government for security and how to take the parish and the capital, take the parish capital out of the grips of criminals. That support didn't come for a long time. And I look squarely in the eye of the PNP this morning. Because I say to my friends in the PNP, there is no doubt that the Klansman and one other gangs established themselves, blossomed, and profiteered while the PNP had a long, uninterrupted run in government and the party did nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. And I'm saying, how is it that one of the most important places, the most historic towns in Jamaica, listen, no disrespect to some towns, but some towns, they have a historic monument, they have a little, I have to be kind, so I pardon me for not being fluent with the descriptor. Whatever they could think when them say, oh, this was from 1600 and so. Spanish Town full of them something there. Spanish Town full of that. We have whole buildings, one whole square. One whole square. You want history come? We go walk across the Iron Bridge and we turn right. Like we go up at the YWCA and walk up the road like we go to the parish library. On the right, you go Monk Street or you go on Riverly side. Left, the cathedral. And you go up White Church Street. So we go up in the section. Pure history. Pure history. So when you talk about historic towns, you'll be hard pressed to find anywhere in Jamaica that has it like Spanish Town has it. We have it. We have the schools. We have big schools. And we've always had big schools. My school has come into its own over the past several years. Punching with the best Jonathan Grant High. But I'd be lying if I came here and said, boy, yeah, Diego and Catherine, yeah, run the thing for decades. And I'm just saying that Spanish Town's profile, you don't need to invent things to make Spanish Town interesting and worthy of investment and care. We have it in spades. And between local government and central government, over the decades, we've sat and allowed the cut on the foot to infect the whole foot gangrenous. And with my limited knowledge of medicine, I never see a gangrenous limb come back yet that have to chop off. And the problem is we can't afford to chop off Spanish Town. So our political leaders sat and watched gangsters run the place for decades, did nothing. And now, who will pick up the pieces? Who is going to wash up the plate them in Spanish Town's kitchen? And I'm sure many people will say, George, well, you said that about Spanish Town, what about here, what about there, what about there? So even amidst the development that we're having and the development we're seeing, there are still pockets, important spaces, which are bearing the acne, showing the acne of neglect. Spanish Town face full of bump, some big sour bump. When will somebody apply the proactive? Who will take Spanish Town out for the sweets? Who is going to give them the bitters? To purge them body, put them on a Cersei diet. Boil Cersei with Single Bible. Clean out them blood. Get them exercising, drinking water, looking better. You notice I don't mention the mayor yet. There's no need to mention the mayor. You know why there's no need to mention the mayor? In my view, the goodly mayor of Spanish Town has delivered the square root of zilch to the development of the town. Cleanliness, order. And I can't blame the mayor alone, because the municipal corporation, all of you guys who represent various divisions, what is the result of your meeting, your planning, your working? I may have friends over there who go vex, but I saw it go. Me vex too. When I look at Drax Hall, I'm Mr. Rotted. Look on Drax Hall. You think you can buy a piece of land in Drax Hall now? You think you can rent commercial space in Drax Hall? As I say in the streets, you have your dirty money. Not dirty money, but you understand. And kudos to the big companies, Grace Kennedy, CB, Carimed for sure, morning, Sir Glenn, Christian, who on the outskirts of Spanish Town are putting in the investment, big warehouses, land being cleared, housing development. When you drive on the highway, woo, you look at it and say, yes, there's life in my town yet. But you go inside of the town center, wind on your window, Lord of mercy. When they scent karate kick your nostrils, walking out there, you probably need a hazmat suit. Everything in there just look like the dirt and dust just drop down on it, and you say, hold on. So when did Spanish Town become a prehistoric place? And a back of bullshit there now. From where I'm at, it's just down there, so. West of me, and not too long. And I want to see the plan. I want local government in Spanish Town. Show us the plan. How are we going to bring the town back? The town in which they paid to kill a man who represented all of the good things about Spanish Town. It's not a stretch to say the day Errol Khan died, the day them killed Kandan, they shot Spanish Town with a bullet that has been poisoning the body ever since. Break time. More after this. You when you're coming on the school bus home, or you went to the library on a Saturday, you met a nice girl. You talk to her and thing, and you say, boy, you meet me and we can talk. Yeah? And so we're going to meet. Meet me at the shopping center. Spanish Town Shopping Center was, but no. Anyway, Social Development Commission, Community Churches and Cleanup Restoration Initiative grant handover ceremony for St.